Hey, I'm John Cannell, and today on Preppy Kitchen, we're making light and fluffy Angel Food Cupcakes. So let's get started. First off, set your oven to 325, line your muffin tin with papers, and I want to talk to you about the sugar for 1 second. Angel Food is basically a cloud of meringue stabilized with a little bit of flour. And the best way to make a meringue is with super fine sugar. So you have two options. You can measure out 3/4 of a cup or 150 grams of super fine sugar, or 150 grams of granulated sugar, and just whiz it up in a blender or a food processor until the crystals are smaller, just like this. Superfine sugar is somewhere between granulated and powdered sugar. It's very fine and it's perfect for dissolving in egg whites. Into a large bowl, I'm sifting half a cup of cake flour, that's 60 grams. Cake flour is milled a bit finer. It also has a lower protein content and it gives you a more tender baked good. I also want a 1/4 cup of my sugar. The other half cup is reserved for the egg whites. And a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. There we go, little contrast. Scale is done. We're gonna whisk this up, set that aside. We need to separate out 6 eggs now. Doing this the right way with a little assembly line, I have egg whites going into this small bowl one at a time. If an egg yolk broke, it would be a disaster because you want your egg whites to have no fat in them at all, so they whip up to their maximum potential. Each egg white goes into the bowl individually, so one broken yolk doesn't spoil the bunch. First of all, I love Angel Food cake. It's like if a marshmallow and the best vanilla cake ever had a delicious baby, especially with whipped cream and some fresh berries. These cupcakes are like the portable version of that, and they're so cute as well. These egg yolks, by the way, are amazing for making a creme brulee, a flan. You could make pastry cream with it, or French buttercream. So many options, so save these for your next project, which I hope is soon. Grab your mixer. We're gonna pop this right on along with a clean whisk attachment. You can totally make this recipe with a hand mixer. You'll just be standing there for a little bit, so I'm warning you ahead of time. Also gonna add in 3/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar. It's like a byproduct of the winemaking process, and it's an acid which helps to like stabilize your egg whites and really let them fluff up to their max potential. Last thing, 1 tablespoon of warm water. Water into egg whites, what's going on? Well, it's going to help you dissolve the sugar really nicely and just help soften things up a bit. I'm gonna mix this on high until it starts frothing up, and then slowly I will add in my superfine sugar. We're adding the sugar and slowly letting it dissolve as the eggs froth up. By doing so, you'll have a smooth meringue and also a really beautiful marshmallowy meringue. And your mixer should be on medium-high during this process. One word of warning, you should always try and make meringue on a nice day, not a rainy day. If you're making it when there's super high humidity, just funky things can happen. It's gonna be less crisp, less sharp, less stiff. It's hard to whip the egg whites and have a beautiful meringue when the air is humid. I just wanna show you where this is at right now. It's almost stiff. I'm gonna give it just like another minute mixing. Just a few extra seconds made a huge difference. The other way that you know you have stiff peaks is the meringue will cling on to the whisk just like this. That looks great. I forgot to add in half a teaspoon of vanilla, but adding it in at the end is just as good. Homemade vanilla, by the way. You can click up here for that video. Mix that in. The rest of the cupcake is by hand, so we can say goodbye to the mixer. Thank you. These cupcakes are like marshmallowy clouds that just float into your mouth. It's the exact opposite of like a devil's food cake where it's rich and decadent and indulgent. These are light, airy, perfectly sweet, and amazing. Now it's time to fold the dry into the egg whites. I want to do this in 4 batches, so just grab a little bit, sprinkle that in, and gently fold. Folding is where you're gently incorporating 2 things together, and usually you're trying to maintain a lot of air bubbles in one of those things. So here, I have my meringue full of millions and billions of air bubbles, and I wanna mix the flour in without deflating those air bubbles. So I'm using my spatula to scrape the bottom of the bowl, then cut down the middle, scrape and cut down, just so all of the flour disappears. And it helps if you sprinkle, by the way, so that you're kind of distributing the flour as opposed to one big clump. And you can see pretty quickly the flour disappears. Now I'm gonna grab my cupcake tin and fill everything up. We're filling these cupcake papers all the way to the top. And what happens is this will rise up in the oven, but as it cools down, it'll shrink back up a little bit. So you don't want to underfill these. And by the way, if you underbake your cupcakes, they will also shrink back down even more, and you'll have like cupcake columns. They won't have like this big shape. They're still gonna be equally delicious, and honestly, no one can tell. So if that happens, don't worry, just eat them. Just eat them. Now you're gonna use a little spatula and just smooth the tops out. You can kind of flatten them out a bit too. Because it's a meringue and it's not really like an actual normal cupcake batter, they're not gonna self-level in the oven. So you wanna have a smoother top if possible, and really just make sure everything is pressed down appropriately. I have a little bit of extra batter left, so I'm gonna fill these freestanding cupcake papers I have that I never use. My baker's dozen is ready to go into the oven, 325 for 25 to 30 minutes, and this is so important. The tops should be golden brown and firm to the touch. Out of the oven, and take a look at these guys. This is golden brown, very hot, and they're firm to the touch. They should maintain their shape. And this is our mega cupcake. I'm almost tempted to do it like Angel Food Cake and let it hang upside down. When you make an Angel Food Cake, you flip it upside down and let it dry, or like let it set completely. So gravity is helping it maintain its light and airy shape. I just have to try it out. So I grabbed a little clip, I'm gonna clip it to a cup, and now it can set completely with gravity assisting it so it's maximum fluffed up. Allow these to cool completely before adding your whipped cream topping. You could just have a dusting of powdered sugar, but listen here, the whipped cream and berries is gonna be everything, so it's worth the wait. Once your cupcakes have cooled, we're gonna go ahead and make an amazing whipped cream with about a cup of cold, heavy cream going into my cold bowl. Everything should be nice and cold. You want about 2 tablespoons of powdered sugar. You can make it less or more sweet to taste. It's really up to you. And half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. We're gonna whip this up until soft, beautiful peaks form. And I'm sorry you can't see into the bowl, but a metal bowl is just so much better for making whipped cream. Also, never whip your cream until you think it's ready. Whip it until you think it's almost ready. It'll curdle up and turn into butter so quickly. I also grabbed a piping bag and a star tip. This is an 846, it's amazing. So I see trails being left by the beater. Come take a look inside. So it's totally not ready, but what I'm gonna do is just finish it off by hand, and it'll come together so quickly. See, look at that, it's almost there. And just like that, soft, beautiful peaks. If I use the machine, it really has like a 98% chance of overbeating. So just finish it by yourself. Okay, I'm gonna fill my piping bag, but I'm also gonna show you what this looks like without a piping, just by plopping it on. It's still pretty. I'm gonna plop my cupcake onto a little stand for you, and I wanna show you, these guys shrank up a little bit, but because the top was firm, it held everything in place. This is the one I did upside down, and everything is perfect. Let's pipe this high to the sky with luscious, beautiful whipped cream. Gets topped with some berries. If you can find smaller ones, those are the cutest. Just a little dusting of powdered sugar. If you want to just spoon some whipped cream on, that is equally as nice. It looks just like a beautiful cupcake you made for a friend. So berries on top, just like before, little powdered sugar. And you can let me know in the comments which one you would rather have, or if they're both near and dear to your heart. We all know that the best way to eat a cupcake is as a delicious sandwich. That is a light, airy, beautiful cloud of deliciousness. It really is like a marshmallow, and the perfect vanilla cupcake had a delicious baby. I hope you get a chance to try this recipe, and if you like this video, check out my cupcake playlist.